you've referenced Road to Perdition a few times. Incredible story, first of all, incredible film adaptation.
I'll give you another anecdote because I
Okay.
had a million of them. Um, so the first after I got fired from Dick Tracy, there I went to the WonderCon in Oakland, and I don't remember the sequence exactly, but but it was shortly after I got fired from Dick Tracy. It was 1993, and an editor there um, contacted me and said, "Would you? I want to have a meeting with you." And so I met with him, and he said, "We are going to start a line called Vertigo, one of my favorite movies." So that was a good sign right there. Uh, we're going to do a series of graphic novels that are that are all noir. And you right now, this was true at the moment, it isn't now. You're the only publishing mystery writer who also writes comics. We want you to do one. And do you have any ideas? And often I had been watching a lot of Lone Wolf and Cub movies with my son Nathan, and I'd been watching a lot of John Woo movies, and I had done research on the gangster John Looney and his son Connor in Rock Island, with the thought of doing something with it. It had actually been something I had turned up in the research for my first book, first Nathan Heller book, True Detective, and it had kind of hadn't made the cut, or it's only in there a little bit. So anyway, the editor said, "Do you have any ideas?" And I said, "Well, I said, are you familiar with Lone Wolf and Cub?" And he said, "Yes." I said, "Well, I want to do a version of, I want to do an homage to that, basically." And this is just me just talking off the top of my head. I do that in as 30s gangsters, and because it'll be the same. The Godfather is the same as the Shogun, and and they can travel in their in their flivver and all this stuff, and it'll be cool. And I was going to call it Gun and Son, which I still think is a good title, but he thought it was a terrible title. So you need to come up with something else. I said, okay. And I also had been thinking, I also had this stuff about John Looney and his son. So I said, and the Godfather will have a crazy son. So I basically kind of gave him a elevator pitch spontaneously. And he said, "Yeah, let's do this. We'll do this." Because the first thing he said to me was he wanted something. He wanted something like Nathan Heller, and of course, Nathan Heller, private eye, in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, who deals with real crimes, that are controversially unsolved or solved, and yeah, that's
That this is one
the
of the things
new.
I wanted to. I do love that we've tracked this character through multiple decades and
Yeah.
seen the changes through his eyes, which is a really cool hook for the reader.
Well, and that was getting some publicity at the time, and I thought, okay, I'll do a Nate Heller graphic novel for him.
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, we want something like Nathan Heller, but we want something new because it's DC and we want our own stuff." So that's when I just sort of spontaneously riffed on uh, on what would become Road to Perdition.
Hmm. Gun and Son.
So I came up with the title Road to Perdition, and I wrote probably a some kind of synopsis or something. So he said, "I have this really great artist in England, Richard Piers Rayner, and he's wonderful, but I have to warn you, he's slow." I said, "I don't care. I mean, I'm not doing anything else." So we, and I saw his work, and the work is just like phenomenal. So what do I do? He said, "Well, give me 25 pages." So I wrote 25 pages. So what was going to be a 300-page graphic novel. So over the next, I don't know, 3 years, 4 years, I would get the occasional phone call from this editor saying, "I need more pages." And then I would go like, "More pages of what?" And then he'd say, "Road to Perdition." I go, "Oh yeah." And then I'd write another 25, 30 pages, send it in. forget
So
about
you're
it.
writing this kind of piecemeal. Did you know where it was going? Had you kind of mapped it out ahead of time?
Well, that's almost another story because
Okay.
we were supposed to do three 300-page books, which was a great gig. I mean, for a writer to say, I got 900 pages they're going to pay me to write.
Right.
And after I turned in this, what became the second section of three, because they were going to publish them as individual books. Each section was an individual book of 100 pages. And then it would be collected, and then I'd start another one. That
Hmm.
was the plan. That was a grandiose plan that
Gotcha.
didn't go. So after the second book was turned in, nothing had been published yet. He said, we've been canceled. The line has been canceled. So you've got to finish it. So then I came up with what the last increment was, which is
Okay.
pretty much what I had intended to do at the end of the 900 pages, because I was going to do the father and son on the road, having these kind of like The Fugitive, having
Hmm.
these adventures with the mob guys chasing them and the law chasing them, and do that shtick. And I ended up, after the movie came out, doing another increment of them called On the Road to Perdition 2. And so we did eventually do something with it. But this thing went on for, I
Yeah.
don't know, 5 years or something. And the work was just stunning. If you've seen the book, you know what it's like. It's great. And so when we finished and turned it in, the editor told me they're not going to publish it. The line is over. The line is dead, and it just there's no format that DC has that it fits into. You're going to be paid. Don't worry about it. And I said, but this is the best thing I ever did in comics. I mean, I've been doing comics since 1977, and this is the thing I'm most proud of. And so I called Paul Levitz, who was the head of DC at the time. You, as a comics person, you probably know that name.
Legion of Superheroes.
Good writer. And so I said, Paul, and we knew each other a little bit, but he didn't have, I mean, we weren't buddies. I said, please take a look at Road to Perdition and see if you can't think of a way you can't justify publishing it, because it's, a lot of work went into it. You guys spent a lot of money on it. And it's the best thing I ever did in comics. God bless him. He did it. He was the publisher. He says, I don't care if the line's over, we're publishing this. And it did okay. I mean, we got some good reviews and it sold fine. And that was 1998. And then in, I guess, 2001, I got the phone call from my agent saying, who's the biggest star in Hollywood right now? And I said, I don't know, Bruce Willis. He said, no, Tom Hanks. And he's going to star in your movie. What movie is that? Road to Perdition. And then, then there'd be like, the next day I'd get the phone call. I'd be like, you know who else is in it? Paul Newman. Right. Okay, fine. And then the next day I'd get a phone call to be like, who won the Academy Award for Best Directing last year? I said, Sam Mendes for American Beauty, right? He said, yes. And he's going to direct Road to Perdition. And then it was the Jude Law phone call. And of course, Daniel Craig wasn't anybody yet, but
Yeah.
he turned out to
But he
be James
would
Bond.
be.
He turned
Right.
out to be James Bond. And then this amazing cast is put together. And what can I say? I mean, these things happen once in a lifetime if you're lucky. And I got to go to the set, and I got to talk to everybody, hang out and we went to I think three premieres, one in England, and I mean it was yeah, it was that one brief shining moment, you know.